¿Qué pasa, Polk? Yo soy Anita Rivera. Así que hoy vamos a empezar por revisar las acciones de la Comisión del Condado de su última reunión en la Junta el 2 de agosto. La Junta aprobó un acuerdo interlocal con la Junta Escolar del Condado de Polk por fuera de las instalaciones, mejoras y viales y de servicios públicos para el Citrus Ridge Escuela de kinder a octavo grado, junto con las enmiendas a las carreteras y planes de mejora de drenaje y de utilidades capitales. El proyecto extenderá la duración de Sand Mine Road de unos 1.300.000 pies, además de una línea de agua de 12 pulgadas, una fuerza de 8 pulgadas y una línea principal de agua regenerada de 8 pulgadas. En este proyecto, el condado reembolsará el consejo escolar los fondos para la construcción, que no se van a exceder de $650,000. El dinero utilizado en el proyecto provendrá el fondo para el Fondo de Empresas de Servicios Públicos y el Fondo también Vial de Polk Noreste. Bajo porción del procurador del condado, la Junta aprobó un acuerdo de licencia con Timothy Woodbury para jardinería, vallado y puerta de Ashworth Woods, corte derecho del Paso en Lakeland. También la Junta aprobó la reelección de Damien Moisés para servir como el miembro representante de una minoría del Condado de Ciudadanos del Comité de Supervisión de Salud en el Condado de Polk para un periodo de 4 años que expira el 21 de agosto 2020. Jan Lud también fue aprobado por la Junta para ser nombrado como miembro del Consejo de Desarrollo de Turismo hasta el junio del 2020. Y en otras noticias, durante el recreo de la mañana del Comité Residencial RFP para la recogida de residuos, que se compone de 5 comisionados del Condado de Polk, se reunió para supervisar las etapas finales de la selección de nuevos transportistas de residuos residenciales del condado. Así que en otros nuevos contratos que se relanzarán en los próximos meses, el condado se divide en 3 áreas separadas para la recolección. El comité también de selección se proporcionó a los paquetes de respuesta de cada una de las 5 empresas que compiten por negocios en los nuevos distritos. La puntuación de los paquetes de solicitud de propuestas está prevista para el 9 de agosto y entrevistas con las empresas se celebró este pasado agosto 12. En las audiencias públicas, durante la sesión de la tarde, la Junta desocupó porciones del derecho de vía en la propiedad al este de Davenport para dar acceso legal a la parte trasera de la propiedad donde se planea un nuevo hogar. Un segundo desalojo del derecho de paso también se aprobó en el plat de Juanita Farms, que es el sureste de Winter Haven. Los miembros del Consejo también aprobaron el desalojo de una servidumbre de utilidad pública entretejido en el sureste de Lakeland para permitir que los dueños de las propiedades para construir una parte de su casa en una porción de esa propiedad donde se encuentra actualmente la servidumbre. Los comisionados también votaron para desalojar Bannon Loop Road, que está al sureste de St. Haines City. Los cortes del camino a través de las propiedades existentes de Arcillas Corte LLC, que opera en una mina de arena y en un relleno de construcción y escombros. Para ayudar con la respuesta de emergencia y la confusión con la carretera de nomenclatura para las residenciantes y los residentes, la Junta aprobó una resolución para cambiar el nombre de Poinciana Parkway en Marigold Avenue. Las consistencias en el nombre le ayudará a encontrar los servicios de emergencias y las direcciones más rápidas. También la Junta aprobó un plan integral de gran escala con el mapa y el texto enmienda para cambiar las designaciones usos futuros de tierras para la creación del Parque del Norte Comercio Lakeland fuera de Memorial Boulevard en Lakeland. La Junta también aprobó una enmienda al Código de Desarrollo de Terrenos en la misma propiedad. Entre la primera audiencia, principios de junio y ahora, adiciones a los planes del parque de negocios incluyen cercas y carriles para bicicletas adicionales para ayudar con el tráfico en la escuela y cerca de esa zona. Una audiencia pública de transmisión de casi 72 acres de tierra en el norte de Lakeland que cambiarán su designación futuro uso del suelo de baja residencial de ocio de la reconstrucción, se presentó en una votación de 4-1 por la Junta, con la esperanza de que un remedio se puede encontrar para el estacionamiento de vehículos en las propiedades de esos para los dueños. También la Junta tuvo varias otras audiencias públicas en transmisión o a lo largo de la tarde en el mapa, plan de amplias y modificaciones a gran escala para cambiar el futuro de uso de esas tierras a partir de todo esto. Así que residencial medio de institucional sobre unos 15 acres de tierra que ahora es propiedad de la Universidad de Warner. La escuela también compró la propiedad de la iglesia Gales del Sur del Lago de Dios que operaba un adulto se congregan, instalación de vida en ese sitio. Pero la escuela lo convirtió en un dormitorio para la cubierta del estudiante. Agrícola, residencial, rural al institucional en 250 acres de propiedad de la Arcilla Corte que opera una instalación de gestión de residuos sólidos, una mina de arena y la construcción y el vertedero de escombros en la propiedad al sur de Haines City. Centro de empleo a medio residencial en 74 acres, propiedad de Holly Hill Grove Road, CPA, bajo residencial de ocio recreo en aproximadamente de 422 acres, son las propiedades de Sandland RV y Golf Resort en Lakeland. Fosfato, minería a la agricultura, residencial, raya rural en cerca de 17 acres de propiedad C. Pebble Dade, Minas Watts al noreste de Bartow, un residencial baja y la comunidad de centro a centro de actividades en la zona de alrededor de 10 acres. Las audiencias de adopción de estos cambios están programadas para el 4 de octubre. Así que eso es todo por la Junta de Revisión y las noticias de nuestro condado por hoy. Así que hay más y no se me vayan porque tenemos tremenda información siguiendo el paso de nuestro primer programa hace 2 semanas de Back to School. Vamos hoy a hablar de estudiantes adultos, así que no se me vayan, que regresamos después de esta.
Miguel Díaz.
Presente.
Miguel Díaz.
Presente.
Miguel Díaz.
Miguel Díaz.
Los estudiantes que falten 18 días o más de escuela en cualquier grado corren el riesgo de atrasarse y no graduarse. Las ausencias se acumulan. Mantenga la cuenta hoy. Visite boostattendance.org.
Hola y bienvenidos otra vez a ¿Qué pasa, Polk? Hace 2 semanas atrás nosotros estamos hablando de la época de Back to School y hablamos de niños y qué es lo que tenían que hacer los padres cuando estaban ingresando a sus niños o matriculándolos en las escuelas locales. Pero eso era de la edad de kindergarten hasta la edad de ser de 4º año de high school. Ahora vamos a ir un poquito más allá en lo que tenemos que hablar sobre el adulto o el estudiante que va a la universidad o al colegio local aquí en Polk County y los servicios que los padres deben de estar preguntando para esos estudiantes o el adulto que me está viendo ahora que quiere estudiar. ¿Cuáles son los servicios que tú debes de estar exigiendo cuando tú vas a estar ingresando en una universidad y los servicios que tú vas a pagar por ellos? Así que hoy con nosotros tenemos a una profesional de las áreas de Career Services para un colegio local. Ella se llama Carrie Walker. you. Welcome to Que Pasa,
Thank
Polk.
you.
How are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good, good. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am born and raised in Polk County.
Where at?
I was born in Lake Wells and I grew up in Frostproof.
Awesome.
Graduated from Frostproof High School. I went and moved to Orlando, and I went to school at a AmericaCare nursing school to get my degree. Oh. Well, not my degree, but my diploma in medical assisting.
Okay.
I did that 10 years ago, and I was a medical assistant for 7 years.
Uh-huh.
And during that time, I decided to go back to college because I wanted to work in the education field. So I went back to Warner University, and I got a degree in educational studies. I have a bachelor's.
Wonderful, wonderful. So when you were at Warner, were you here in the Polk County campus or in Orlando?
And no, I went to school at their campus in Lake Wales, but
Okay.
I also did some online classes as well.
Okay.
I was in the Adult Accelerated Studies program, which worked really well because I was able to work full-time during the day as a certified medical assistant at my doctor's office, and then I took classes at night.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about what you're doing now. So you were a medical assistant, went back to school. Did you get to work in the Polk County school system?
Actually, yes. Prior to my current position, I was a paraeducator at Gino Dell Learning Center. It's a
Okay.
school for special needs children.
Oh.
I worked there for 3.5 years.
What kind of roles or duties did you have while working with these special students?
I assisted the teacher with her daily lessons, and I helped take care of the children. The class I worked in was medical high risk, so the students they were all in wheelchairs, and they were pretty profound. You know, they had a lot more issues than some of our other students. So I would help change them, feed them, help them do their studies. And we actually had curriculum, and they had lessons that they did, and we would do hand over hand with them so they could write. You know, they would make marks and stuff.
Okay. How many students did you work with at the classroom stage?
This past year, I only had 7, but the year before, I worked with 11.
Working at a local college here, since 2007, I've been working in private settings in colleges, and I'm noticing a lot of challenges with our students, and so we're going to be talking about that a little more later on, but I'm noticing a lot of challenges in our younger age. These students that you were working with, how would they progress then on to the next level, like high school and then college?
Well, our school was started at 3 years of age for the students, and they could go until they were 22. They would age out, is how it works. And we had some students that were higher functioning, and we have graduations, and just like all the other traditional schools in Polk County. But once they graduate, they still continue on in the program until they're 22 or 21. Okay. I think it's 22. But some of them, a majority of the students I worked with, depending on, they might be able to get into a work program for special needs children or adults, or some of them would just, once they would finish at our facility, then that would be it. They would just be at home in care or whatever. There's really a lack of services for that population once they age out of the school system.
So would some of them, if they were, following through with going to a local college, would that college be able to cater to them with their special needs, or are there schools in the county that are lacking that, like local colleges or something?
Because of the demographic we worked with, most of them were pretty profound. I mean, there are a few that could possibly continue on, but it would be they would probably need somebody to go with them, like a chaperone or something to help them take notes, and and that would be a very small percentage, I would say, of the high functioning ones.
That's a lot of need. That's a lot of need to have someone with you.
Yeah, because they can't really go on to the next level. So then it becomes an issue for the parents because they've had the benefit of having school, and they also do summer school. for about a month in the summer. They have that. So it's a real big issue for the parents as their children get older. What do we do? You know, do we quit our job? It's a big life changer
And
on top of everything else.
Because you've been going through your whole child's life trying to make sure they get educated. I think that every parent, no matter what situation their children are in, they want them to be educated, if anything.
Yes, and I have to say, there's more than just Gene Odell as a Learning Center school in Polk County. There's Karen Siegel and Doris Sanders as well. They do awesome things for the population. I mean, our school had they participated in the youth fair. You know, they have transition programs where they teach them skills, community-based instruction, where they go out in the community and they learn skills and just basic things like how to behave when you go to a restaurant, how to order, they do a lot of stuff. It's just not a lot of people are aware that that isn't an option.
So you're basically teaching them life skills on how to interact in certain sceneries and with certain people and things like that.
Because at least, unfortunately, some of them aren't going to be able to join the workforce, but you want them to be as prepared as possible to be able to function in society. You want them to be valid, active members and be able to enjoy life and make it easier on the family.
That's a very good statement right there. Active, lives. You want them to be able to experience what we experience.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So ya saben, ella empezó en una fase donde ella ayudaba a estudiantes con necesidades especiales. Entonces, de eso es que la va a llevar a donde vamos a hablar cuando regresamos después de esta pausa.
Cuando te pongan a prueba, no te rindas. Arranca solo después de oír el clic del cinturón, porque cada 8 minutos un pasajero de 8 a 14 años resulta lastimado en un choque.
Hola y bienvenidos otra vez a ¿Qué pasa, Polk? Estamos aquí hoy con Carrie, que ella es de Southern Technical College, un colegio privado aquí en la área de Polk County. Y ellos tienen varias localizaciones aquí en el estado de la Florida, pero el puesto de ella, la plaza que ella lleva en ese colegio es de Career Services Coordinator. Estábamos sabiendo un poquito de lo que ella hacía anteriormente, pero parece que la fundación de ella es, o como dicen, la persona de ella es ayudar a los que necesitan esa ayuda. So, welcome back to ¿Qué pasa, Polk?
Thank you.
I love the fact that you come from an educational part where you love to help people and help them move on to what they need to do when they get to their 12th grade and maybe even farther from that. Special needs students need that a lot, and I think they need that as a foundation to feel like they too are needed. And I think that's great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So now you're in a different phase. You were a medical assistant, and you went and were a paraeducator, and now you're a career services coordinator for a local school, Southern Technical College here in Polk County. What do you do there for STC?
As career services coordinator, I assist the students, all the graduates. I help them get prepared for their job after they attain their degree. I do workshops for mock job interviews and also resume writing preparation. I assist them with that. And then our medical assisting students, our patient care tech students, and our medical office administration students, at the end of their classroom time, we have things called mods. So their last mod is actually their externship, which is on-site training where they go into a doctor's office if you're a medical assistant or a medical office administration student, or the patient care tech students. We're just in the beginning of that, so they'll be a little bit later going out, but they go into like nursing homes, ALFs, things like that, but they go into the actual environment that they're going to be working in.
So they're in an actual setting, not just doing the lab at the class. They're now somewhere, a doctor's office. Wow.
Yes, they go into a doctor's office and they complete, depending on what program they're in, 160 hours of basically on-the-job training.
So it's like an extended interview process.
Yeah, and
Wow.
that's what I tell them. I'm like,
Okay.
you know what? This is a 6 weeks working interview. They don't get paid for it. They get their credits. It's a credited class for their program. So that's the last segment of their degree. And once they complete that, then they complete the program and they graduate with their degree. But I tell them, this is an awesome opportunity for you. Learn as much as you can, because you've got 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how long it takes you to get in your 160 hours, to show them what you know and how good of a worker you are. And the goal is to I place them in offices, wanting them with the hopes that they're going to get hired by that facility.
Basically, you're kind of like sending them somewhere where they're going to actually be interacting with patients, and that they're being responsible for these patients and these files
Yes.
or whatever. So
It's
they
real
do
life.
give them patients like if they were already working for that doctor or that clinic?
Yes.
Oh.
I had said earlier, I went through a program to become a medical assistant, and you go out and you go to the doctor's office and you have somebody follow you for a little bit, but then eventually as you get into it and you get more confident and they see what you know, it's just like your regular employee. You go at it. If they need it, some doctors, it depends on the sites, but sometimes they'll practice their phlebotomy skills, taking blood. They'll do injections, they'll do EKGs. It just depends on what that particular site feels comfortable letting the students do.
So they get experience, and I guess this is something that's required. I know in some colleges, my son went to a state college here, and he didn't have any type of
Yeah, no,
going through something
not
like
a
that.
lot of schools do. The school I went to, they had no career services benefits.
I wonder why is that? Because I mean, our children or our adult students, it could be anywhere that's 18 years old that just graduated from high school, or a student who's 32 years old and wants to get a second career, wants to, why don't we have services such as that? Because,
I don't
getting
know.
experience.
As an adult, when you go back to school, it's kind of scary. You're doing a life change, and you're trying to balance family and school and everything. So the thought of getting out there, trying to find a job and doing a resume, and how do you do a professional interview, and how do you handle those questions, it's very overwhelming. Because a lot of times, we have students that some of them have been stay-at-home mothers, haven't worked at all. So I feel that it's very beneficial to have that resource, because you're preparing them. And I feel like it gives the students a little bit more of an edge, because they know what to anticipate. They're not blindsided by anything, because we've done the mock interviews, we've coached them on how to dress professionally, how to carry themselves. I've helped them with their resumes, because that's a big thing. Resumes are scary.
Yeah,
it really, everybody.
A lot of people look at a lot of resumes, and how would you develop a resume for a student that hasn't had a professional work life, professional life in working, and they've always been like either at fast food, and they're used to just filling out an application, talking to someone, here's my application. Now you're taking them from that and into a resume. How do you take a student that's in one of these schools and build their resume who have no experience, so that I as an employer can look at that resume? What steps do you go through with them?
Well, the one thing that's really good with the externship that the students do on the medical end in the allied health degree programs, their externship, that actually can count as experience.
Okay.
And if they don't get hired, excuse me, they can get a letter of recommendation from their site. So that kind of gives them a foot in the door towards getting in that medical field that they're wanting to do. As far as like with fast food and stuff, a lot of times, you have to deal with not very long, working at a job for a month or two and everything. When it comes to that, sometimes I just tell them, if there's a lot of that job hopping going on,
Don't put that on.
I tell them, you know what, you were a student.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to question that you were in school. Not everybody works while they're in school. you can say I was in school, you know, and nobody.
Yeah, a lot of gaps and a lot of like I was here 3 months and I was here 2 months. I think that I've seen that with people that I interact with. They feel like, oh well, I've had 5 different jobs in a short amount of term, but that's experience. This is, yeah, but it doesn't look well. They want to see consistency. So students that are at the school, if they, let's say, for instance, would something like perfect attendance awards, would that mean anything on a resume?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
When they get to their education section, if they've made the president's list, the dean's list, if we have a sorority on campus, an honor society sorority, if they're a member of that, perfect attendance, I tell them to list all of that because those are very important things. Because if you have a resume that's short on work experience due to school, at least it shows that while they were in school, they were very dedicated. They took it seriously. They were
especially perfect attendance. That would be something I, as an future employer looking for someone, I would highlight immediately because I'm like, okay, this person had perfect attendance through, let's say, 18, 24 months of school. That means to me that person's going to get here on time. It's going to be working outside of the box. Will do whatever I need of him or her as an employee. So I would be looking at that a lot besides, their GPA or certifications or anything that they do. But I think that would be something very important. I think that
it's very
as adults,
important.
it's a way of programming them without them knowing already that means a lot.
It just shows that they took their schooling very serious, that they were, reconciled to the fact that this is what I want. They were committed.
Awesome. So what would you say to a prospective student going into a school such as yours? What would you tell them? Don't just look for the program. Ask for services like yours.
Yeah, I would, because the thing is, there's a lot of different schools, and they offer the same programs that Southern Technical College does as far as degrees and diplomas and stuff for careers. But once the student graduates, they're just kind of left out there on their own, and it's very overwhelming. And as a student that went through a program at a school that didn't have career services, it was overwhelming. It was kind of like, okay, now what do I do? My extern's going to be over. How do I go to the next phase? What do I do? Which,
awesome.
I sent out resumes and I took care of it myself, but not everybody knows to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us here. That's very good information. Así que ustedes vieron, una de las cosas que quiero que ustedes entiendan cuando van a empezar un colegio, cualquier colegio que sea en el condado o fuera del condado, pregúntenle siempre si tienen el servicio de ayudarles a conseguir trabajo después que se gradúen, o los servicios de hacer su resumen, cómo prepararlos profesionalmente en vestuario, porque a veces mucha gente se creen que saben que están bien vestidos y bien preparados para esa entrevista, y señores, lamentablemente no es así. Yo les puedo decir porque yo era directora de una región en Puerto Rico y esas eran las cosas que yo me fijaba. Así que eso ha sido todo por hoy. Así que si empiezan a estudiar, recuérdense, busquen que tengan un servicio especial para el estudiante después que se gradúe. Así que nos vemos en la próxima. Así que no se pierdan que vamos a regresar agosto 18 con nuestro otro programa, y que la pasen bien. Nos vemos en YouTube, en Facebook, y no se me pierdan y no se me vayan, que nosotros nos vemos en la próxima. Así que chao y que Dios me los cuide a todos.